example 5.5 given in the book of Klepner and Kolenkov, and well, we don't have to worry about the statement of the problem because all it tries to estimate is escape velocity from Earth. Right? We all know what is the escape velocity from Earth's surface, and we are simply going and you have calculated that using Newton's equation of motion. However, we are just now going to calculate the same thing using our work energy analysis, which we just finished. And now, so what we are saying is, let's say this is our surface, right? And now, instead of saying that we are shooting the particle vertically now, let's say we shoot the particle at any angle alpha, right? And to see what is the escape velocity. Okay. So in that case, first what we need to write down is what is my force. Force is G. Let's say m is the mass of the particle, m is the mass of Earth, and at a distance r. Now from surface it will be starting from here and then can go up to infinity. So this is the force Gm over r square. Let's find out how much work needs to be done. So work done in. So where do you want to go? You want to go from surface of the Earth. So distance is Re. So because this force is acting from the center of the Earth up to infinity, we want to get the escape velocity. We want to see the particle completely free. So that will only be there when the particle is infinity. And then F dot dr. Right? So Gme over r square. However, I have to write down this as a vector. So we know that this force only acts towards the center. So it's always in the r cap direction. Right? That's a unique property of the gravitational interaction. So r cap dot dr. Right? So I have to write down dr. And now, seeing that the force is in not in Cartesian coordinate, it's in some angular coordinates, radial angular coordinates. We should probably also write down this dr element in radial angular coordinates. So let's first write down this dr element. Let us see what is this dr element. So for that, and again I'll start with 2-dimensional analysis, and later on if we need we'll extend this to 3-dimensional. So let's say this is my xy direction. Right? dr is the infinitesimal displacement vector. Right? So let us take a point here and then another point here, right, which connects the displacement vector. So this and let's say this point, and in going from here to here, I am moving infinitesimal displacement dr. So how do we define this? In xy coordinate, we can define these 2 points as, so this one is, let's say r1 vector, this one is r2 vector. So this will be characterized by projections x1, x2, y1, y2, right? So this displacement is characterized by x2 minus x1, which I will call as dx, y2 minus y1, which I will call as dy, right? So in that case, in making this dr displacement, the particle moves dx amount in x, dy amount in y. So the displacement vector, so we effectively have found out the components of the displacement vector. So dr is dx I cap plus dy j cap. Okay. Just like any vector r is x I cap plus y I. Okay. Now, what about converting this same thing into my plane polar coordinates, right? So let's try to do that. So again, this is r1. Let us take this as theta1, this as theta2, and then this will be angle d theta, the change angle d theta. Similarly, so now since the plane polar coordinate, we know that it's defined over a circle or a circular plane. So, and now in going from here to here, it also makes so r cap theta cap, right? So in going from this point to this point, the particle makes along the direction of r cap a displacement of dr magnitude just like dx and dy, and similarly in going in the theta cap direction it also makes a displacement of certain magnitude, and that magnitude will be defined by the arc because it's going from r dr in this direction and then the arc which takes it to the other point pointing in the theta cap direction. So the length of the arc and length of this arc is simply r d theta. Okay? Again, if r1 and r2 are very very close, so we can take that the radial distance does not change and its magnitude remains r d theta. So by this geometrical analysis, we can write then in r cap and theta cap as r d theta theta cap. So this is then the value of my dr component here. So I can use that integral r of e infinity g m m e over r square r cap force dr element which is dr r cap plus r d theta theta cap. And now all we have to do is find out a dot product. So r cap dot r cap will give us 1, r cap dot theta cap will give us 0, and so we'll have a more simplified equation re to infinity g m m e over r square r cap 1 dr. So that's just the equation. R cap dot theta cap will be 0, so that other term will not come. So now you see here, by simply solving or continuing with the vector form, we don't have to worry about this extra knowledge which is given that the particle is short at an angle alpha. Right? If we would have done with the force analysis, then we have to find out what are the components of forces along this direction, perpendicular to this direction, and then solve the equation of motion. However, here with this vector form of the work energy relation, we don't have to worry about that. All that information will be automatically included here, and if it's relevant, if it affects the solution, then it will have a say in here. If not, then we'll see that the solution comes out independent of that quantity. Right? So this is here, we can solve this integral. Not a very complicated integral to solve. It's basically g m m e is a constant quantity, and so it's 1 over r squared dr. So what we'll get is, we'll basically get minus g m m e over r e. Right? So this is the work done in going from Earth's surface to infinity. This is also equal to the change in kinetic energy. And what is the change in kinetic energy? At the Earth's surface, the particle was shot with certain energy, with certain velocity, let's say v naught or v, and it goes to infinity. And basically, what we want is we want it to use all its energy that is given to it, use that to escape Earth's gravitational field. So that means at infinity, its energy could be just 0. Right? We don't want it to have any more finite energy when it escapes the Earth in two sense. So the change in kinetic energy will be finally 0. Initially is half m. Let's say v naught square or v escape. We'll write it as v escape square. And then from here we can simply find out what is v escape. V escape is square root of 2 GME over RE, which if you want to write in more familiar form in terms of small g is that then 2G R. Right? So using the work energy relation also, we can find out, we can solve for these kind of problems. In many cases, what we will find is the problem becomes much more simplified, and we do not have to worry about undue intricacies involved in the problem. Okay. And the important result here is, again, to note down, is that it doesn't matter at what angle you project the particle, be it vertically upwards or simply horizontal, as long as it has this escape velocity, it will get out of the Earth's gravitational field. Okay. Let us move forward. With the last example, now let us see some special cases. So what we have written down in general, we have written down work as f dot dr, well, path integral is equal to, so I am going to write delta k, the change in kinetic energy. Okay. So let us take some special forces. So let's say if force is constant. A constant force. Basically, constant force in the sense that what we are saying is it does not depend on the displacement vector. It's just a constant force, uniform force field in space. Right. So, constant force can be then written as F equal to F naught. So, that's the magnitude of the force, and in some direction. So, we'll write it as n cap. N cap could be in some direction, but it's a constant direction. With at different points, the direction does not change. The force is always pointing in the n cap direction, and its magnitude is always F naught for all points in the coordinate space. In that case, what will the work done? So, integral F, which is F naught n cap dot dr. Right? This is the work done. Now, since F naught is a constant, n cap is a constant direction, we can take this outside of the integral. It's not depending on anything. Dot integral of dr AB. It's a path integral AB. If this is the case, then now since this integral is only over this element dr, right? If we integrate these infinite length elements, just the infinitesimal length elements, then of course they lose all the information how you reach that point. It's simply going to be equal to the initial position vector, the final position vector and the initial position vector, and the dot product of this. So W work done is simply F dot n cap dot the final displacement, the total displacement between the initial point and final point. Does not matter how we reach the final point starting from initial point, right? That information is simply lost here. We have no way of, or there is no need for that information. So this is the work done, and so basically what we are saying is it's independent of the path. It simply depends on the two initial and final points. Okay, so this is an important result. Let's write it down as 1. Let's take another example of a force, and now this one is a common force. So what about if the force is a central force? And what are the examples of central forces? So first of all, central force we can write down as F of R is equal to F of R. So the central force, its magnitude only depends on the radial coordinate, does not depend on the angular or the directional coordinate. So its magnitude depends on the radial coordinate, and its direction is always along the radial coordinate r cap. Right? So again, there is no angular dependence. Do we have some forces like this? Yes. The two well-known fundamental forces, gravitational force, electromagnetic force, both are central forces, right? So this is then basically a very nice example, because this lets us find out particular properties of the forces which are actually existing in nature and which we are going to work out most of the times. Okay, so let's say for the central force, what is going to be the situation? Again, WAB will be now equal to integral AB F R R cap dot dr. Now, of course, dr is going to have, I mean, we could have written on XYZ, but then r cap also has to be taken in I, J, K. In radial polar coordinates, or for time being radial angular coordinates, because we have not extended our analysis to 3 dimensions, this dr element dr vector element, displacement vector, is going to have an r cap element, just like in the previous problem, dr r cap, and some angular dependence, right? Now we don't have to worry about the angular dependence. Of course, in plane polar coordinates, now we know what is angular dependence. It's simply r d theta theta cap. But otherwise, we don't have to worry about it, because as long as the force only depends on r cap, the dot product will force this quantity to be there only for the component here, which is in the r cap direction. So in that case, this will simplify as AB f of r and just dr. So dr, let's say in plane polar was dr r cap plus r d theta theta cap. R cap dot r cap will give us 1, so this will be dr and this will simply cancel out. Right? So this will be then my work done. And now here if we see, the integral now again is independent of the direction. It only depends on whether, or it only depends on what is the magnitude of distance at point B and at point A, right? So it again loses all the information of which path we have taken to go from A to B. So for example, if this is my, let's say, simple, it's in 2D, x, y. So one point, another point with magnitude R1, R2, going from here to here. It doesn't matter if I go and take this path or I go and take this path. As long as I am going R2 minus R1, all it matters is what is the final radial distance that has been changed. In fact, these points could be located anywhere as long as the radial distance between these 2 points is the same. Work done by the force, by this central force, will be exactly the same. So that's all the property of the central force, that again the work done is independent of path taken. So this is the property of, so okay, so at least we can say that for 2 kinds of forces, one which are constant in nature, others which are central forces whose magnitude only depends on the radial position from the origin. For both of these kind of forces, the work done is independent of the path taken. So in general, we analyze that the work done by a force is dependent on the path, but for 2 special kind of forces, constant and central force, and again to emphasize here, central forces are the ones which are governing the nature, right, as far as we know. So for these kind of forces, the work done is simply independent of the path taken. And now I will make a final remark here, and then we will stop and move and discuss rest in the next lecture. And that is, so let's write now if WAB, the work done, equal to integral of f dot dr is independent of taken to go from A to B, right? If this is the case, then the force is termed as conservative force. So basically you have 2 previous examples. If the work done is independent of the path taken, then the force is a conservative force. So for example, and if somebody asks what is the example of conservative force? Gravitational force, or any central force will be a conservative force. So it's called a conservative force. And now for conservative forces, right? So only for conservative forces. Now we are subdividing analysis. Only for conservative forces, we can write down this WAB, which is F dot dr as another scalar function. Of course, we know that this quantity is a scalar, right? So we can try to connect it to a different scalar function, to another scalar function, which is then UA minus U R of A minus U R of B. So we have written down in terms of another scalar function U of R, where U of R, where R vector is called potential energy, potential function or the potential energy of the system. So F dot dr over path AB for conservative forces, where actually you can take the line integral, but the path actually is immaterial, is then equal to the potential energy at point A and potential energy at point B. Difference in potential energy between these 2 points, where the potential energy for time being is just a scalar function. We are just connected to a scalar quantity. And now we'll come back and we'll take this as, because we also know that this is also equal to the kinetic energy. We said that this is the change in kinetic energy in going from A to B is equal to then U of R of A, U of R of B. And now you can say that, for example, you can say that since we are taking that integral, in case of kinetic energy, we say, the way we do integration limits, we have said kinetic energy at B minus kinetic energy at A. Then in case of defining the scalar potential energy function, why did we take potential energy at A and potential energy at B? So that's just a choice that we make, right? So that we reach the familiar results and we maintain our conventions, the pre-existing conventions, right? So there's nothing unique about writing it this way, but we will see the physical significance of this. So anyway, so write it down like this, and then what we can find out is just slightly do a rearrangement. So this can go here and this can come here, and what we will see is K of A plus U of A is equal to K of B plus U of B. So the sum of potential energy at B plus kinetic energy at B is equal to sum of potential energy at A and kinetic energy at A. However, A and B are just arbitrary points, right? We said that in some arbitrary path, this is A and this is B. We did not specify, or we did not describe, did not give any specifics about these 2 points. See, these are arbitrary points, and between 2 arbitrary points, if this relation holds, that means they should hold for all points. And if that is the case, then it can only happen if these 2 terms are actually a constant, right? It's a constant for that system, and then for any 2 given points, this will remain constant. This is written as E, the total energy of the system, right? So then we can write it down as kinetic energy is potential energy, total energy of the system, and what this statement or this equation signifies is that, looking at it now, we can make the general statement, which is called the law of conservation of mechanical energy. So potential and kinetic energies are termed as mechanical energy, and sum of this will be total mechanical energy. So law of conservation of mechanical energy for all conservative forces or for all systems under the influence of conservative forces, the total mechanical energy, total energy E of the system will remain constant, right? And this is and in general loose terms, we simply use this law as saying is conservation of energy, right? But in strict sense, for time being, with the analysis that we have done, the law of conservation of mechanical energy is strictly followed for all the conservative forces. Of course, we have been applying it to solve various problems. So far, we have done it earlier also. That's because, look at the previous example, the example 5.5. Gravitational force is a conservative force, right? And that is why we could apply the conservation of conservation of potential energy in solving those problems. Okay, so let's stop here and we'll take it up next time.